Oh man. Um well, this is like the third time we're recording this because my software just hates me. Good evening. I hope all of you are good night at this point. I hope all of you are doing well. I know it definitely could be better. But welcome to the post game show where typically we would kind of just break down the game, but things are going to be changing a little bit tonight. Sorry, I got to turn off that freaking loud mini split. This is going to be an unedited, just raw, straight show because I'm tired. This is like I said, 34 time recording. Not even gonna you getting it just straight up unedited. Not even gonna try to pretty it up. You just gonna stare at my ugly mug talk for like 20 minutes. That kind of post game show now. Typically, we would break down the game, but as if you follow me over on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Joseph Griffin JG, you've seen this and you kind of saw this coming because I put out a tweet saying essentially that during the post game show, you were going to get exactly what a lot of fans have asked from me, and that is my honest opinion about the team. Because a lot of people view me as um, to the clean version, a ray of sunshine type of person where everything's going to be okay, and they just think, I think, there's nothing wrong with this team, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Um, and it's been said that way in the films. It's the film reviews we do with y'all on Mondays, and on Twitter. It's been said on other shows as well, and some tweets that I've had. But this is kind of what this show is all about. It's about two things, really. It's about just how hard of a job, which a lot of people are going to take this as an excuse for Shane Beamer. It's not, but just how hard of a job Shane Beamer has and changes. What needs to happen? What do I see? You all asked for it, and you're going to get it. Now, what you have to understand is this, and again, I say it so much because I preach it and because I mean it. How I want my name to be built, especially in this Carolina space, because as y'all kind of know, I was kind of in over with Georgia prior to this. I do not want to make a name by bashing players or athletes in general, regardless of sport or coaches. Don't think that's going to do me any good. I know that's what some fans want is just some dude to come in here, run their mouth, and tell you everything that's bad. That's just not what you're going to get from me. Now, what you are going to get is someone who doesn't have any emotional ties to the program at all and just tells you what he sees, both on film, what's wrong, what's right, and tell you what exactly you can do to fix it. Constructive criticism. That's what you're going to get from me. And a lot of people view that as just pumping rays of sunshine into the program that everything's going to be okay when it's just not. So today is, with everything else going on, a completely raw, unedited. You go get exactly what you asked for. You may like it, you may not. But the first thing we're going to do with this show is we're going to just jump straight into changes. Y'all asked me if I think they should have, even though I've answered this question before. But again, I'm going to do this respectfully. I was sitting down and talking to my mentor, Brooks, about this. Well, how can I do this to give the fans not necessarily what you want to hear, because that's not my job. I, and I don't want y'all to take that out of context. I'm saying it's not my job to make you happy, and it's not. I'm sorry. My job is to cover your program and tell you what's going on and what's not going on and what needs to be better and what is better. That's my job. If my job was to make you happy, I would just go and tell you everything you wanted to hear, and bash every single thing that's wrong with the program. But it ain't. My job is to cover the team unbiasedly and professionally, and that's what I'm going to do. So I asked, well, how can I give the fans something where they understand that I'm not just this ray of sunshine that they claim for me to be, but do it respectfully where it's not bashing the coaches? Because again, it's not what I want to do. The answer I got, quote from the text, was the best thing you can do is give your honest opinion and back it up with facts. So I got to thinking, well, how can I do that today? Well, the first thing I want to do is start off with the head guy, because that's who this all boils down to, right? As the head coach. And again, oh, you're hearing my dogs bark, and I apologize again. Unedited version, not even gonna try to pause this and clip it out. Um, Shane Beamer is your head coach. And I've seen some asinine takes. And I mean some ridiculous, just out of the I mean, just I do my best to not I don't ever want to talk down to anybody because I don't, because there's a lot of things that a lot of people know more than I do. Just in that same breath, I feel like I know more than certain people do in certain areas. But to tell me that Shane Beamer is a bad head coach is just straight dookie of a take. um, because it just is. You're 2.5 years into his tenure as a first time head coach. Um, and he's done good things. He's done bad things. He's done some things that if I were talking to him right now, I would I would like for him to do better. But I also think because of who he is why you have such a good recruiting class. It's why I think you're going to continue recruiting good outside of the 2024 class, and you're going to succeed in the 2025 class, and however long you keep him. I do genuinely think that he is a winner in certain aspects and things that I think he has to do better at in others, for sure. But he is the guy to turn this program around, in my opinion. But you have to give him time. It's been 2.5 years. I understand a lot of people want everything to happen now, but you also have to remember that you are ahead of schedule. And I know that seems absolutely ridiculous with being 2-5 right now, but you over exceeded expectations 2 years ago and last year. Whether you want to hear it or not, you did. In 2021, you were predicted to win 4 games. In 2022, you were predicted to win 6.5 games. This year, I still think you're at 6 games or something like that. So it wasn't like, although, and again, I will call myself out just in the same time I will pat myself on the back. I had this team as an 8-4, 9-3 football team. It ain't gonna turn out that this way. It's just not. Physically can't, because the best you could do is 7-5, and that's a stretch and a half. Can it happen? Sure. Crazier things have happened, but it is a stretch with the inconsistencies that you have seen. Now, how I'm going to go about this is this. I've already told you Shane Beamer. I think there's good he's done. I think there's bad or things that he could work on. Not bad. But let me explain this to you to show you just how hard of a job Shane Beamer has. And again, this isn't to protect Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer does not need me here advocating for him and fighting for him. He just doesn't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm doing him some kind of service for doing it. You guys asked for it, and that's what you're getting for this show tonight. But the only way I know how to do this, because I thought, well, how can I back up this opinion with facts and thoughts without people getting the wrong idea? So before I even start, because I know somebody is going to take this out of context, I am in no way, and I mean no way, comparing Kirby Smart or Lincoln Riley or Ryan Day or Lane Kiffin to Shane Beamer. However, I'm going to use them to create a point that I have been trying to get across, but say it respectfully where it doesn't seem like it's a bad thing. Okay. Shane Beamer, Kirby Smart, Lincoln Riley, all of them, what do they have in common? Well, if you guessed, they all have their hands dominantly on one side of the ball, like Kirby Smart is a defensive minded coach. Lane Kiffin is an offensive minded coach. Ryan Day is an offensive minded coach. See where I'm going with this? If something's wrong with how things are being run on the side of the ball for them, they fix it themselves. That's what happens. Kirby Smart, and the only reason I'm using him is because it's where my background came from. If anything was wrong with Kirby Smart's defense from 2016 and now, he fixed it. That is not to take any credit away from Dan Lanning or Glenn Schumann or anybody else that is a defensive coordinator at Georgia for as long as Kirby Smart is there. But Kirby Smart's defense will always be, or that defense will always be a Kirby Smart defense. Just is. But on the offensive side of the ball, he had to make a good hire. And I don't know if people remember, but he did not make 2 good hires. I think it was 2 or 3. I can't remember. I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but Cooley that went to Texas A&M, that was one of his hires. Wasn't a good hire. Jim Chaney that winded up being at Arkansas at one point was not a good hire. And in 2020, he finally made a good hire. Now, you're probably saying, Joseph, why on earth are you bringing that up? That has nothing to do with anything. But it does. Because what do all those coaches have that Shane Beamer doesn't? Shane Beamer doesn't have his hands all in one basket. And I could not think of a better term, and I really wish I could have, because I do not want you to think and take this word as a bad thing, but Shane Beamer is the CEO, if you will. He runs the program. He is the program. While he doesn't have his hands on one particular side of the ball, that doesn't mean he doesn't know football. Shane Beamer is one of the smarter minds in terms of football IQ in the game. He is. I promise you he is. And I'm not just saying that because I have to. Because one, I don't have to. And two, if I thought otherwise, I would tell you. That's why we're here tonight. Is you wanted honesty, you're going to get it. So now, with that being said, when you come in and you basically are the CEO, it's already hard enough for Lane Kiffin and Kirby Smart and Lincoln Riley to go and find that other opposing coordinator to find the perfect fit. Took Kirby Smart 4 years from 2016 to 2020 for they found Todd Monken. Ryan Day with Knowles, I still think he's okay. Lincoln Riley apparently will never find a good defense coordinator because he doesn't care. What I'm saying is it's already hard enough to find that one home run of a hire, but when you are the type of head coach Shane Beamer is, you have to hit on both. And not just hit, it has to be home run hits. And when you hit on one of them but you don't on the other, it drastically shows. And you're seeing that this year because Shane Beamer saw this offense was not going to work with Satterfield. Just wasn't. Got rid of him within 2 years. He brought in Dow Loggins. And he's done extremely good. And there's still people out there right now that are saying he hasn't done good things and they're still waiting for him to yada, yada, yada. And I'm sorry, that's an asinine take as well. If you haven't been watching any of our film to see the greatness he's done on offense, I don't know what to tell you. And even if you don't want to look at that, just look at the numbers. The numbers are better. And a lot of people, because I put this post up and it aggravated some people, which it wasn't meant to aggravate people. And a lot of people, I think, we have to be okay with educating ourselves in the sport. I still have to educate myself, especially on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to things, 100%. But it's okay to admit you don't know something. And when you don't, go find the right answer. But there was a post that I put out there on Twitter basically showing the difference between last year and this year with offense. And the numbers were a little bit worse than last year's. And it wasn't sitting here telling you that Marcus Satterfield in last year's offense was better. No, if anything, I look at that and see the strength of schedule between the first 6 games and see, holy crap, they're 4 points off per points per game, 3 or something like that, and like 500 yards off. And they played a tougher schedule. To me, I see that and say, man, we figured out the offense. We've been plagued with injuries on the offensive line that haven't helped, but you figured out the offense. Shane Beamer hit a home run of a hire in Dow Loggins. But then on the defensive side of the ball, you've struggled. You have been inconsistent. There have been inconsistencies from the first game to the last game. And you've been able to put 3, 4, 5 drives together, maybe even a quarter and a half, sometimes a whole half. But you've never, as a defense, been able to put a complete game. Now, that's not sitting here telling you this offense for Carolina has put together a complete game either all the time. They did it against Florida, and they did it against Furman, I'd argue, and I think they did a pretty daggone good job against Mississippi State. But when you have this drastic of a difference, you can see it. It's almost you have to be blind not to see it. But here's what I'm going to say about this home run you have to hit on two really good coordinators. And I don't know why that's hard for a lot of people to not necessarily grasp or understand, but why they don't want to admit that. I don't think it's easy for any head coach to come in and hire one really good coordinator. I mean, you saw it with Kirby Smart. You've seen it with Lincoln Riley. You've seen it with Lane Kiffin. You've seen it with Ryan Day. I mean, it's hard enough to do one, but you have to get 2 of them when you're a coach like Beamer. And again, This is not a down at all, like or talking down at Beamer at all. I think he is a guy and the guy to turn this program around 1,000%. But you have to give him time. He's 2.5 years in. He's figured out that it was not the right way to go on offense, and he got you a good hire there. Now, we can debate till the cows come home about hiring in the season, whatever. That's up to Shane Beamer. And if he fires anybody at the end of the season, but y'all are all here for one thing and one thing only, and that's to talk about the defense. First off, I'm going to say this. Again, going back to what I told you, I will never bash anybody. But in that same breath, what I'm telling you, I mean every single word of. Clayton White is a good guy. Very good dude. He is also a good defensive coordinator. He has put good things on film. We've shown you that this year. We've shown you the drives. We've shown you the halves. We've shown you the quarters. What has not been good is the consistency. And 3 years into a program, specifically as a coordinator, at some point you kind of just become you are who you are. Now, is that necessarily fair to an extent with depth and how things happen or how the team was left and all that good stuff? Maybe, maybe not. There's debates and there's arguments to be had for sure on either way you want to go about that. But I don't necessarily think it's as much as a Clayton White is a bad defensive coordinator as much as it is the scheme is not the right fit for what you have. Now, a lot of people want to say South Carolina just doesn't have talent on defense, and that couldn't be further away from the truth. It really couldn't. You have talent. You do. For whatever reason, some people just don't want to admit it. Like a lot of people don't want to admit that the defense did an extraordinarily good job in the second half. And where I think things get lost is people so badly want Clayton White out that they won't give credit where credit was due. But it is possible to sit here and for me to tell you this. Changes need to be made on the defensive side of the ball. And the defense gave you every chance you needed to get back in that game yesterday. Your offense couldn't take advantage, and they couldn't score 7 when they needed to. They were held to 3. All of those things can be true, and it's okay for them to be true. What and why I think and again, there's a reason why I'm in front of the camera here talking to you tonight and not in a film room tonight with the guys over there at South Carolina or any football program, right? But for me, I look at this defense and I look at Stone Bland, and he perfectly fits a 3-4 middle linebacker scheme to me. I look at Debo Williams. He perfectly fits a 3-4 outside linebacker, getting after the quarterback with his speed and the ability to get out of the quarterback. I look at Nick Emmanwori, and I see him, and I say, man, he's an extremely good safety. He's also really good in the box. He could probably play a Mike in a 3-4 or 3-4. He could be close in that box if you needed him to, or a safety. But right now they have him at nickel. I see Tonka Hemingway and say, man, he's good enough to be on the edge, but he's at the defensive tackle position. There's personnel out there that I think are out of place. I am not in the room to sit here and tell you why. This could just be Clayton White's hands are tied behind his back, and this is who you have. I know a lot of people want to say we need to throw the guys out there. Me being one of them. Again, I will tell you when I'm wrong. I have no problem with doing that. I tweeted in the first half, all right, it's that time. Let's get young players the ball. Let's get young players in there and let them earn their stripes. I was one of those guys. I am not sitting here telling you any different. But there's a right way and a wrong way to get guys involved. There are. For me, Nick Harbor is the right way to do it because he and I mean he is talented. Y'all, you can watch him run routes. You can kind of watch him in between plays. He's still learning. He's still got to be a better route runner. And he can be. Step is an extremely good receivers coach. And if you haven't seen the progression from Leggett from last year to this year and know that he is, and I don't know how to help you there. And I have all the faith in the world that Step is going to get him good. But with him, you needed that. And it's at a position that doesn't necessarily come with as much of win losses in terms of confidence kind of thing. You kind of just got to go out there and play. And they have, and they did. They waited a little bit, especially after the bye week. They got him going, and he's going. Okay. Defense is a completely different monster. It would be insane, in my opinion, to have Emory Floyd or Nelson or any of those other young guys and say, you know what, your sole job today is go defend Luther Burden. Good luck, Bubba. Now, could they come in and have a great day, hold Luther Burden to 2 catches for 18 yards, and just strap them up 1,000%? Statistics and history will tell you there's a good chance that Luther Burden's going for 10 catches, 185 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And that's not what you want on the defensive side of the ball, where so much of it is confidence and being able to establish that. You can't get drug out there and then expect a young freshman to come back mentally the same. It's not easy to do. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I do think nothing. I think there are some being done right in the defensive room, but I think more times than not, some things just aren't going the way they probably should. But again, I'm not in that room. You're not in that room to know why people can't get where they are or where we want them to be. And as much as people hate hearing this, and they do, you have to be consistent at practice. Now, there are good football players that just are terrible practice players, but once the bright lights come on, they're good. But man, a lot of times you have to take that risk when you're the most desperate. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you you're not the most desperate on the defense side of the ball, but I'm telling you you're good enough on defense. I just don't think the scheme is where it needs to be. Again, I think Clayton White is a good coach. I truly mean that. Is it something that necessarily is going to or can work out for South Carolina? I don't know. I truly don't. I do think there needs to be a change, but that's not because I think Clayton White is the worst defensive coordinator. I just think because the inconsistencies have shown 3 years in, it's just time to move on. And I think I don't know where Shane Beamer's at with that. We'll find out at the end of the year. We might find out tomorrow. I don't know. But all this to say, it's extremely hard to hit on one hire, let alone two. Did Shane Beamer knock it out of the park with his first 2 coordinator hires? No, he didn't. And I think that's okay. Kirby Smart didn't hit on his first OC. Lane Kiffin didn't hit on his first DC. Ryan Day didn't hit on his first DC. It happens. And when you're a first time coach, it makes it that much harder. With a fan base, and this is nothing against this fan base. If anything, this is what makes this fan base so good, is because you are so passionate to be good. All you want is to be able to see a consistently good product put on the field from this football team. That's all you want. I'm not sitting here telling you that you're just okay with winning 8 games a year. You want to be able to go and compete for an SEC championship every now and then. Who doesn't? But all you want as a fan base is to consistently put out a good product. And you got every single reason to feel that way. But doesn't make Shane Beamer's job any easier to do that. If anything, it makes it that much harder. And again, I'm not blaming the fans, and that's why his job is hard, because it's not. Fans or no fans, it's hard to hit on home run hires your first attempt or a first year, or not a first year head coach, but a first time head coach. This is Shane Beamer's learning curve year. And I would sit here and tell him the same thing, and I think I kind of spoke on this on the pregame show. With all due respect, and I truly do mean this. And I'm not just sitting here to say this because I want to be buddy with Shane Beamer, because I want us to have a good relationship, just like I want to have a good relationship with the fans. I think that's what good media is being able to have unbiased, unemotional ties, good quality. This is what I see. This is how things can be fixed. Here's the film that backs that up, but also be able to be honest with ourselves. And this is it. Shane Beamer has a tough decision to make, either now, tomorrow, or at the end of the year. And whatever he decides to do is going to go down one or two ways. You keep him, and you better hope you have the best defense in the world. next year. That's just how it is, especially with how the fan base already feels. Or he says, we kind of have to part ways. Let's go figure out who can we bring in to capitalize what we have. And then you buy yourself a little bit more time. Buy yourself a little bit more time does not come out the right way. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what Shane Beamer's trying to do is buy more time. But you have to give Shane Beamer time. Again, this program has over exceeded expectations from when he took over 2 years. That is not a good excuse to be 2-5. Matter of fact, you should not be a 2-5 football team with how good Rattler is, with the weapons that you have. You have just been inconsistent with the plagues of injury that you have had on the offensive line and everywhere else. It sucks. It's not fun. It ain't fair, but that's life. It's college football. Some years are better than others with injuries. You got the worst end of it this year, and on top of it, to add insult to injury, you're 2-5. There's no excuse to be 2-5. There isn't. I'm not sitting here telling you it's going to be okay. I'm not sitting here telling you you're going to finish the season 7-5. You have a good chance at being 5-7. Now, can you make bowl or win a bowl or get to a bowl? There is a route to do it. I think you beat Vanderbilt and Jacksonville State. Can you beat Clemson? I don't know what Clemson is at this point. When they come into Columbia at the end of November, that's a huge toss-up game. You pick it. I'd be all right with it either way. Kentucky is going to be the game you're going to either have to win if you can or cannot still win against Texas A&M. But I'm not sitting here telling you everything's going to be fine at the end of this year. What I am telling you is this, and we're going to have I got to get you out of here because I'm over my time. But you guys asked for it, you're getting it. Do there need to be changes? In my opinion, yes. Not because they aren't good, because they are inconsistent and because they have not been able to show the ability to adapt. That is nothing against Clayton White at all. I think he's a good person. I think he can be a good defensive coordinator with players that fit his scheme and how he wants to do it. I truly do. I do think that there has to be changes. Is Shane Beamer willing to do it? I don't know. This is Shane Beamer's learning year. What you can expect from Shane Beamer moving forward, I think, and this might be a reach, a hot take, or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the year, whatever decisions are made by Shane Beamer will define the rest of his tenure here at South Carolina. I just think that's how it is. Whether I agree with it or not, that's what the fans think. I do think you need to give Beamer time. I think Beamer is the right guy. I think you have a good offensive coordinator in place. You have extremely talented players. You are lacking size in some areas. You need to hit the transfer portal in the offseason. Maybe at receiver. Probably bring in another edge rusher. Maybe a linebacker. Not that you don't have good players, you guys, you need depth. You really need depth. It is okay to go get depth. But that's it. That's the post-game show. No sunshine here for you. I'm not telling you tomorrow is going to be a better day, but I am telling you that you do have the right head coach. You just got to give him time. See you next time.